Are you subscribed to the HerBusiness Podcast? If not, you should be. It not only helps us create even more great content for you, but it'll help you stay up to date on the shows that we put out every single week. We talk about money, we talk about leadership, we talk about self-compassion, we talk about growing a business that works for you. There are so many essential business topics that we cover here. So wherever you get your podcasts, be sure to subscribe so you're notified for every episode that drops. Your business, your rules. Grow a business that works for you. This is the HerBusiness Podcast. Hello, and welcome to the HerBusiness Podcast. I'm your host, Susie Daphnis, and there was a time in my business when it was frankly a mess. Now, nobody tells you when you start a business just how much there is to think about, to organize, and to do. And before you know it, you're 5 years in, you've got some clients, maybe even a steady stream of new clients if things have gone well, and you're generating revenue. But you're still doing almost everything yourself, and your workload feels messy and sometimes overwhelming. And untangling that knot can be extremely hard, especially if you've become used to doing things a certain way, when those patterns and habits they run really deep. But you can untangle them. And it just takes getting your systems in order. And today I'm going to tell you about 4 systems that saved my sanity and my business that I cannot picture life or business without. And these systems are going to save you time and energy and stress and give you fewer things on your plate to worry about. And I'm going to walk through how I use them, why you might want to implement them, and what happens when you get these systems in place. And if you're listening and you think, systems, they sound like restrictions, I encourage you to start viewing systems as a way to have more freedom and more leverage and more calm and order in your life and your business. And instead of suffocating on everything around you, you're going to feel spacious, creative, and able to move more freely. And instead of relying on yourself to remember everything, to do everything, to check everything, your systems can take care of all of that. And importantly, instead of reinventing the wheel again and again, you can have a system that naturally carries certain tasks forward, meaning you can do more, clients get more value, and the business grows without you having to do more and more hours. And instead of chaos surrounding you, things are structured and organized. Things are in their place. You don't have to lie awake with that feeling that something might have slipped through the cracks because there are safety nets built into systems to catch those slip-ups. Now, for most small business owners, especially, systems are the difference between constantly fighting fires and actually enjoying the business that you've worked so hard to build. And systems are not about being rigid or robotic, as you'll see. They're about creating a supportive structure that gives you more space for your creativity, your relationships, your desires, your joy, having more fun. And so let's dive in. So the first system that I'm going to talk about came out of an embarrassing scenario, actually. Years ago, this is many, many years ago, I had gone through 4 receptionists, yes, 4 in just a few months. It was like this revolving door of receptionists. And that was happening before I realized that I needed a good system for customer service. Customer service was a frustration and such a time suck for me. The receptionists that I'd hired were not really performing at the level that the business needed. Calls weren't being handled consistently, important details were completely missed, and there was no standard to the customer service experience that clients were getting. And because of this, my energy was being drained because I was in firefighter mode. I would jump in to fix mistakes, I'd be apologizing to clients or making up ground with them or redoing work that hadn't been done well. It was a mess, and it took a lot out of my day and my week. And this was time that I could be working on my business rather than in the weeds of my business. And instead of handling client calls and reception duties, I could have been putting my energy elsewhere. But the thing was, we didn't have a documented system. So what I decided to do, and this is one of the first systems I ever created, was to create a customer service system that combined phone answering procedure with a script for frequently asked questions and how to manage visitors. So we had an in-person office at the time, and people would come by regularly to meet with me or to others on my team. Plus we had a host of deliveries. We used to sell physical products, and so there'd be shipments coming in all the time and couriers at the door every 5 minutes, it felt like. So it wasn't just about what the receptionist would say on the phone. It became a framework for how the receptionist role worked within the business. And if you don't have a system for your customer service in place, here's how I recommend you build it. You want to start by identifying the most common scenarios. So there's probably 5 or 10 questions that your customers or clients are calling about all the time. It could be about their billing. It could be about the delivery of your service. It could be, how much shipping is. It could be when do your doors close, right? What is the information that you're always needing to share? And from there, document step-by-step instructions and create a script or an email template that guides the person answering the queries through each conversation. And for us, that system included both the technical, the software, the hardware, what to do with the information that was gathered, where to log it, how to leave breadcrumbs in our CRM for other team members to be able to refer to, and also the people side. What was the tone of voice? How do we welcome our callers? How do we close off the call? For example, one of the things that we would never say is that so-and-so is busy. So it demeans the caller to me because we're all busy and my time is not more valuable than anyone else's. So we would always say that someone was unavailable right now. Could we take a message? Could we get someone else to help them? The other thing we did is we set up time frame expectations, and we would have an autoresponder or something that would say, we'll be back to you in a couple of hours. And that was during office hours. But after hours, there'd be a different message that said, we'll be back to you, when we're back in the office. And these days we have live chat that's live during office hours that goes to an automated system that is an email system when the office is closed. Now, it wasn't until we implemented this customer service system, which defined what success looks like in customer service, that I realized that the receptionist role wasn't failing because of the people we were hiring. It was failing because there was no structure to the role. And once this system was put in place, hiring the right receptionist became significantly easier. This, and also defining that role and really building out that role description. So it wasn't a gamble anymore. And I've seen this with so many business owners. After implementing a system, you can stop blaming yourself or your team members, and everyone has clarity. So it was a huge win both internally and externally. And I do want to say, even though I talked about the customer service system, what does customer service mean? It was also about defining the role for that person. What needs to be done by whom and when and how. So things no longer felt a mess in this part of the business, which was such a relief. Calls were being answered consistently, customers felt taken care of, and the role became much easier to fill because there were really clear parameters, which meant instead of starting from scratch, the next time we needed to hire, we had a repeatable system for both how customer service works, but also what the role looks like. And it also meant less micromanaging from me. It took a little bit of time to set that up, but then I could have the confidence and the comfort that people on the other end of the line or the email were getting a great experience, whether I was around or not. And I want to say this system works even if you don't have a designated receptionist or customer service person. Maybe it's just you or it's a virtual assistant handling these customer-facing interactions. You can still have these exact steps in place. When you have a system, things don't fall through the cracks. The customer has a consistent experience. The operation becomes turnkey. So big team or small team, having a customer experience system is a must-have in my experience. So that is system number 1. System number 2 is a system for planning projects and planning priorities. And even if you're not a planner, just hear me out, because this side of the business is a mess for so many small business owners. They're flying by the seat of their pants. They're cramming in as much as they can in one day and jumping from project to project when time comes. So a project planning system is not just essential for you, it's also essential for your whole team. And if you're just in the early stages of building a team, having a planning system in place allows you to build your team well, because everyone knows what's happening, when it's happening, how each piece of the puzzle fits together. And before I implemented a really highly organized project planning system, everything was in reaction mode. One of my team members dubbed us lastminute.com because we didn't have a system for any of this, which nothing could be further from the truth now, but I'm talking like way back when I started my business 30 years ago. Back then we were scrambling, and we often discovered too late that deadlines overlapped or that we'd committed to more than we could handle as a team. And team members might be pulling in different directions, and I was left feeling like I had to hold the whole business plan in my head and keep it all together. And you don't want to be keeping your business plan in your head. It's stressful. I was stressed, my team was stressed, and more often than not, the team was confused about what to prioritize. So fast forward today, and we have really robust systems in place. And when it comes to our planning, we operate very proactively instead of reactively. And we can see at a glance where the time crunches are going to be in our year, and we plan around them. It determines when our launches are going to be, when our promotions are going to be, when people might be able to take holidays and where are no-go zones. And we can avoid overlapping priorities and unnecessary stress. And the team feels really empowered because they know what's coming up. They know what they can do to prepare and organize their own work. And it doesn't feel like I'm the one carrying everything. And everyone understands how the pieces fit together and what their role is. So how do you build out a plan for a plan? For us, it's committing to having a regular rhythm and structure and having a planning culture. So in our business, every quarter, the team comes together for a strategy session where we map out our projects for the next quarter, our timelines, our responsibilities. Now, we have an annual plan. We create that at the end of a year. And then every quarter, we dive deeper into what's coming up in the next quarter. And sometimes we even peek into the quarter after that because sometimes, timelines are very long for the projects that we run. Now, we use a project management tool called Teamwork, but you can use whatever system you prefer. You can use a spreadsheet. You can use Trello, Asana. There's so many different options, each slightly different. But the key is to have something that captures everything in one place. Somewhere where you can revisit and adjust things as you need, where you can determine who's going to do what and when. And at our quarterly strategy meetings, and we just had one this week, something we put on inside of the HerBusiness that mirrors that is our quarterly business strategy meetings. Because 90 days, that's a quarter, 90 days, can pass really quickly. And when you do not have a plan for what you're really focused on in the next 90 days, that time will come and go. And you're likely to make little progress on the most important things. We can get really derailed. And so we created a culture inside of the HerBusiness community where we meet 4 times a year and we set our 90-day strategic plans. And we work across some key areas like our money and our marketing and our personal development. And so we built it into the culture of being part of HerBusiness, just like we've used it effectively inside of HerBusiness, the business, to execute on hundreds of projects every single year. And this is one of the most important systems for you to put in place. And if you don't know how to do this, we have resources for you inside of the HerBusiness community. And when you have this, it changes how your work feels because everybody is calmer because they have a map of where we're going. And instead of last-minute pivots, your team is going to feel prepared. They're going to know their role. They're going to get a sense of what's coming up. And that's very, very empowering. And I've seen so many women transform their individual work days when they adopt some sort of planning system. It becomes a no-brainer. One of our members said, I feel like I have a GPS for my year. And that's what you want. You want a GPS for your business, something that's guiding the direction you're going. You set the destination, whether that's a sales goal or whatever the goal is, and then you create the GPS that takes you. Then you do that through your planning. Because you're not waking up in the morning not knowing what you're going to do that day. You're not flying by the seat of your pants. You're not staying up late with unexpected work. You're not going to bed thinking, oh my gosh, I forgot that thing, but I'm too fried and too tired to remember what it is. It does take a little bit of upfront discipline, but the payoff is huge and the return on investment is unbelievable. More freedom, less chaos. It clears up so much. You don't even realize how many of your business problems might boil down to just lack of planning. Now, I can totally geek out about this because I see so much freedom and sanity coming back into my life and into the lives of the members who implement this. And if you need some structure and accountability, as I said, every quarter, our business strategy meetings inside the HerBusiness community are how we keep each other accountable to this. And if you're not a member and you're listening, I'll tell you later how you can apply to join. All right, so that's number 2, and that is your planning system, project planning system. So what is the third system? The third system, whether you have a huge team or it's just you or you and a virtual assistant or a couple of part-time workers or, 2.5 staff, whatever it is a system for communication. And what I have found is that most small business owners communicate with their teams less than what they should be doing. And our communication systems at HerBusiness are pretty straightforward. Here's what we do. We have a short daily huddle with the team, and one longer team meeting every week. And maybe that sounds like a lot of meetings, but because they are efficient and structured, they actually end up saving us a whole lot of time and preventing issues from festering or projects for drifting like way off track. So we have a meeting for our communication. We also use Slack to organize our communications. Now, before we introduced this system, communication wasn't bad. We were still meeting weekly and we were using email, which is a pain in the butt, honestly, because we would end up with these long back and forths on email and you can never find anything. And so going to 1, the daily huddles, and then 2, Slack, we've been able to really streamline our communications. And so what was happening before is that we would be duplicating efforts or missing deadlines because someone didn't see the email, and small problems would turn into big problems. And it also meant when we did meet, there was so much ground to cover that these meetings went on and on. And so this actually came out of a situation where a few years ago, just before the pandemic actually, PJ and I decided that we were going to work and live in New York for 10 weeks. And we have team in the Philippines, the United States, and in Sydney. And we thought, how are we going to manage these different time zones? We need a better system. At the time, we had an in-person office here in Sydney, and now we weren't going to be seeing our team every day. And so we put in place this system, the daily huddles on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, plus our usual weekly meeting, plus Slack. And we've kept this system in place ever since. We've never looked back. And I can't imagine us ever changing it. And so today, everything feels lighter and more connected, including our team members. And our daily huddles are short, sometimes less than 15 minutes, but it keeps everyone aligned. And the team meeting is a little bit longer because we do some extra things there, like we look at our statistics, we check in with each other, we have some, water cooler conversations, etc. Our huddles, very focused, 3 key points: what we completed yesterday, what our priorities are today, any roadblocks or things we're waiting on. The structured weekly meeting, as I said, we check in with each other, we tackle bigger conversations, we look at projects. The key here for any meetings is 1, frequency, and the second thing is clear agendas and time limits and having someone run the meeting. And I don't always run the meetings. I'm not in every huddle. Like if I'm traveling or if I'm running an event, then the team will run the huddle. But the structure is so clear that they can't really do anything but follow the structure, which we do. So this system was actually a surprise to me because adding in more meetings, I thought it would be unpleasant, but it's actually saving us so much time and it keeps us so connected as a team. So that is system number 3. That is having a system for communication. I'm going to say again, most business owners do not communicate often enough with their team. As business owners, we are busy, and these meetings, these communications are not about us blabbing on, or anyone blabbing on really. It's about having structured communication that keeps us really focused and really on track. So what underlies, like these systems I've given you are very practical, very organizational, but what underlies all the parts of your success and your growth and your sustainability? The answer is you, right? You also need to look after yourself and make sure that you are operating at your most empowered, highest level, the most inspired, the most creative, the most free. And this can be hard to do when you are down in the grunt work of your business. So I'm going to tell you about the you system that prioritizes you. And I'm just calling it the you system, and it'll make sense in just a minute. Because your personal system doesn't have to look like the one I'm going to give you, but I'm going to give you some other options. So this system revolutionized not just my life, but also my business. And that was hiring a personal trainer and getting serious about my health and fitness. So about 17 years ago, I hired a personal trainer. But many times throughout my business, so I've been in business 30 years, I would disregard my health entirely. Who had time? I just pushed harder, worked longer, grew older. And so as a result, I had far lower energy. I was much more stressed. I had that guilty feeling at the pit of my stomach that I wasn't taking care of myself. And a health scare gave me cause to commit to my health. With the same level of dedication I commit to my business. And so many women put their physical well-being last and prioritize everything and everyone else, which I did for so long. And now I've had a personal trainer in the mix, as I said, for over 17 years. And exercise had become a non-negotiable for me. It's part of a system that keeps me empowered, just like my business meetings or commitments or being creative. And doing this makes me feel stronger, and it lets me have more energy in my day. And I show up to my business and my life with more clarity around what I want, confidence in who I am, because I'm spending some time, and it's not a lot of time. I do 2 45-minute personal training sessions. That's my commitment. I do that every week. And I might run, on my own at other times, but my PTs, they're in my calendar. They are systematic. And when that base is taken care of, when we actually spend some energy on us, we can show up at our highest and most empowered selves in every interaction. And so that's my U system for me, personal training, but for you it might be something else. Your method might be every single morning journaling without any interruption, without any distraction. Maybe it's scheduling a couple of hours each Friday where you simply do something you love. You learn something new. You're doing something artistic or trying a new experience or studying. One of my friends has declared Wednesday her personal and professional development day. And she has, she hesitated because that's a whole day in the week to take out of her business. But she said, I'm going to do face-to-face client work the rest of the week, but Wednesdays I'm going to declare my personal and professional development day. That is the day I'm going to attend my mastermind. That is the day I'm going to listen to podcasts. I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to take a class. I'm going to study. And her life has changed. She didn't think she could do it. I don't know if I could do it. I don't take a whole day out. I travel a lot, so I get, lots of time, away from the computer. But the point is to make it systematic. It happens every week the same day. And when you put a structure around your self-care, be it a meditation class or a morning routine or set reading time or having a cleaner come in once a week, you finally stop feeling guilty and overwhelmed. And instead you feel supported and able to show up as your best self, personally and professionally. One of our members has been doing a morning practice for over a year now. We gave every single member a book called The Miracle Morning, probably about a year ago now, and she has done her morning practice every single day. And it's been over a year because it's probably a year and a half now, has not missed a day, and it's changed her life, it's changed her business, it's changed her outlook, it's changed her relationship with herself and with others. And what this boils down to is more joy. Without your systems, the joy of running a business can really disappear. And maybe that sounds dramatic to you, but the whole reason you started your business was for freedom and flexibility and doing more of what you love. And all that can become buried under the chaos of running everything manually or keeping track of 1,000 different threads. Systems are how you run the business rather than the business running you. Systems will bring joy into your life. So today I've given you 4 systems that saved my sanity. A customer service system, a project planning system, a communication system, a use system. Now, we are now highly systemized, but I wanted to give you 4 that you could put into action. And if you need more help setting up reliable systems, be sure to tune in next week. I have a very special guest coming on the show to dive deep into the topic of incorporating systems that actually create freedom rather than more stress. She specializes in working with entrepreneurs to put in place their systems, and it's a fabulous conversation I want you to listen in on. Now, I love doing this podcast for you, but more than that, I love hearing from you. Now, these podcasts are conversation starters. They're not passive monologues, so I would love to hear your thoughts. I read each and every review that we get, and you can review anywhere you listen to your podcast where you can review. Apple Podcasts is, the big kahuna of reviews, so we would love that. You could leave a Google review over on Google for HerBusiness. Whatever it is, you can direct message me on Instagram, but let me know. Did you implement a system? Which system are you going to take up? Customer service, project planning, communication, a system for you. I hope you'll start with that one. It's so important. We are our greatest asset in our business. Now, one of our members, I love shouting out our members, has a beautiful business called Black Garlic & Co. It's a family-owned business out of Western Australia, and they use black garlic, which is made from organic garlic from the Margaret River region, to create black garlic products. And their products use the finest ingredients. They've won numerous awards for their products, and you'll find them at blackgarlicandco.com.au. Now, why do I mention this? One of the founders, Dion Sibley, was listening to episode 323. So this is episode 328. And that episode was called Want More Sales? Do These 3 Things Every Month. And it was with my friend and sales expert, Susan Bradley. And Dion sent me an email. She said, I love this podcast so much. Thank you for doing this with Susan Bradley. I'm going to make my hubby listen to it. It's exactly what I needed. And so, Dion, thank you for sharing it with your husband. I appreciate that. And congratulations on all the awards that I know that you've been winning. And you've really been putting yourself out there this year. And I just wanted to give you a shout out for that. And if you're interested in these black garlic products, I'm going to put a link to Dion's website in our show notes. Now, if you are not subscribed to this show, unlock your phone, find that subscribe button or that follow button, and you'll never miss an episode. They're coming out every week, and we have some incredible guests joining me in the next few weeks, guests that you definitely want to listen to. So click subscribe or follow wherever you are. Now, I've mentioned a few things here on the show. I'm going to put a link over on our website at herbusiness.com/328. herbusiness.com/328, and I'll link there to the resources that I've mentioned. And of course, if you are not a member of the Her Business community, you can apply. So there's an application process. We ask you a few questions to make sure that you're a good fit and that we're a good fit for you. And then within 72 hours, if you're a good fit, if we think it's the right next move for you, we'll send you an invitation to join. If it feels like perhaps we're not a great fit, then I will send you some other resources. So all you need to do is head over to herbusinessnetwork.com to go ahead and apply. Once again, on our website at herbusiness.com/328, you will find a summary of today's episode. And if you're new to the show, subscribe. And join me on the next episode of the Her Business Podcast. As I said, we have great inspiring stories coming up. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.